Yeah, everyone, and welcome back. Before we begin here today, please make sure that you like and subscribe because it really does help out our channel, and it also helps us reach others who want to test their math skills with these types of test questions. So this will be our 32 or our 32nd part in this math skill series, and what we have going on here today is that we have to solve this equation for x. So it actually turns out to be a quite simple solution here if you get the beginning part started correctly. So what I'm going to do, and this is really the hardest part, is setting up a substitution. So what I'm going to do here is that I am going to set an a variable equal to the x root of 4, and I'm going to set a b variable equal to the x root of 3. So I'm going to rewrite this equation right here in this form so that we would have 12 times, and I'm going to split up the x root of 16 into the x root of 4 times, well, the x root of 4, and then minus off 25. And you can probably see the pattern that's going to form here. We'll split up the x root of 12 into the x root of 4 multiplied by the x root of 3, and then split up the second portion of 12 and split up that x root of 9 into the x root of 3 multiplied by the x root of 3, and all of that has to be equal to 0. Well, anytime you see an x root of 4, that's just a. Anytime you see an x root of 3, that is b. So let's just substitute in here, and then we would end up with 12a squared minus off 25 times a times b, and then plus 12b squared is equal to 0. So this kind of takes the form of a quadratic equation after you do this substitution here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve in terms of a as if it's my missing variable, like you would usually solve for a quadratic equation containing x squared minus x and then plus some value. You would solve for x. So I'm going to solve for a because all I'm looking for here is the x inside of the root here. And a is equal to the x squared, or the x root of 4. So let's just solve for a using the quadratic formula. So a would be equal to 25b plus or minus the square root of minus 25b squared plus, or actually, sorry, minus off 4 times 12 times 12b squared. And then I'm going to divide by the 2 times the a portion, which is 12 up here. So this just becomes simple algebra at this point. So just simplify this down. This becomes 25b plus or minus the square root of 625b squared, subtracting off 576b squared, all over 24, which simplifies down even further to 25b plus or minus the square root of 49b squared, all over 24. So we end up with 25b plus or minus 7b all over 24. So thus the roots for a would either be 32b over 24 from the plus version, which can be simplified down to 4b over 3, or a could be 18b over 24, which is equal to 3b over 4. Alrighty, well, a is going to be equal to the xth root of 4, and we have two possible roots for a, so we're going to have to use each one of these to find out possible possible values for x, because x could have two possible values since we have two possible values for a. So let's start with the first one. So let's go if a is equal to 4b over 3. Then that means that the xth root of 4, which a was originally set as, is equal to 4 times b, which b we originally set to xth root of 3. So plug that in for b down here. So it's going to be 4 times the x root of 3 over 3. So once again, we just have simple algebra that we have to work with here. Oh, so we would end up with the x root of 4, and I'm just going to take the 4 to the other side here, divided by 4. So this would be the x root of 3 over 3 then. So this goes down to here. So I'm just going to rearrange here and try to make this a little bit easier to solve. So we're just going to exchange the 4 and the x root of 3 here. So we end up with the x root of 4 over the x root of 3. And I'm trying to write that x inside the root, or of the root here, is equal to 4 over 3. So this left-hand side, then, since we have x root in the denominator and the numerator here, we can just go x root of 4 over 3 is equal to 4/3. Well, what does x have to be such that the root of 4/3 is equal to 4/3? Well, that just means that you would have x equal to 1, since the root of 1 really does absolutely nothing. So that is one possible answer here. All right, so then let's work with the other portion of a, which is 3b over 4. So if we go with a is equal to 3b over 4, well, once again, b was just the x root of 3. So we would end up with x root of 4 is equal to 3 x root of 3 over 4. So we can just do some rearranging here once again. So we would end up with, let me just write it down here. We would end up with basically the same type of situation, with the same algebra that we did before. We would end up with x root of 4 over the x root of 3 is equal to 3/4 now. And once again, we can translate this into the x root of 4/3 is equal to 3/4. So I can translate this even further, and let's go up here. We would end up with 4/3 to the power of 1 over x, and you're probably wondering, why the hell did I do that? Well, you'll see here in a little bit, is equal to 3/4. Well, we know that 3/4 is equal to 4/3 to the power of -1. So let's take this portion and plug it in for our 3/4 over here. And we end up with 4/3 to the power of 1 over x is equal to 4/3 to the power of -1. Well, since what we're taking the power to, the inside portion here, is 4/3 on each side, that means that 1 over x is going to have to be equal to -1. Well, what does x have to be in this case? Well, x then just has to be -1, because 1 over -1 equals -1. So that's my other possible value for x. So in total here, we would have -1 as a possible answer, and we would also have, I think I went right by it. Yeah, it's right next to it. We would have -1 and then 1 as our possible answers. So to answer this overall question, what does x have to be? Well, x can have two possible values here of 1 and -1. And that would be your answer for this overall equation, such that it satisfies our beginning expression. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned a new math skill along the way. And if you want to test your abilities even further, please check out the other videos on our channel. Also, if you haven't done so already, please like this video, leave a positive comment below, and subscribe to the channel, because all of that does help us out. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.